But I need living companions who will follow me because they want to follow themselves and to the place where I will. A light hath dawned upon me, not to the people is Zarathustra to speak, but to companions. Zarathustra shall not be the herd's herdsman and hound. To allure many from the herd, for the purpose have I come. The people and the herd must be angry with me. A robber shall Zarathustra be called by the herdsman. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the good and just. Herdsmen, I say, but they call themselves the believers in the orthodox belief. Behold the good and just. Whom do they hate most? Him who breaketh up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is their creator. Behold the believers of all beliefs. Whom do they hate the most? Him who breaketh up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. Companions, the creator seeketh, not corpses, and not herds or believers either. Fellow creators, the creator seeketh, those who grave new values on new tables. Companions, the creator seeketh, and fellow reapers, for everything is ripe for the harvest with him. But he lacketh the 100 sickles, so he plucketh the ears of corn and is vexed. Companions the Creator seeketh, and such as know how to whet their sickles. Destroyers will they be called, and despisers of good and evil. But they are the reapers and rejoicers. Fellow creators Zarathustra seeketh, fellow reapers and fellow rejoicers Zarathustra seeketh. What hath he to do with herds and herdsmen and corpses? And thou, my first companion, rest in peace. Well have I buried thee in thy hollow tree. Well have I hid thee from the wolves. But I part from thee. The time hath arrived. Twixt rosy dawn and rosy dawn there came unto me a new truth. I am not to be a herdsman. I am not to be a grave digger. We are tuned in to fitness and consciousness. That's from Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche. And yes, Nietzsche, not Nietzsche. I heard a lot of people say Nietzsche, but when I hear psychologists and people that really study him, they always say Nietzsche. So I'll say Nietzsche like this, like the smart people do. He goes on, I recommend that book. I'm listening to it on audio it's at least the second time. I'm pretty sure it's I heard it before. I heard it from my buddy Tyler. I invited him to teach at a workshop that I was putting on. He does a lot of old time strongman kinds of stuff. He lifts kettlebells and does all kinds of good strength training. And I asked him to teach something at a workshop, his choice, whatever. You know, when I invite these instructors, I invite them to teach whatever they want to teach. Here's the amount of time you have and do whatever you want. And it was cool. So I remember Tyler sending me a message, and this was a couple years ago, I guess. He sent me a message after I had invited him. He was at a bar with his notepad, and he took a picture of his notes and sent them to me. And his part of the workshop was based on Nietzsche and that book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And it's like talking about starts off as, the camel, the lion, and the child, and these different, evolutions of, man. You have to read the book. I'm not going to get to it. This book or this podcast isn't just about that, but it's a very interesting book. It's cool. I'm going through it again. But like it, creators, the creator seeketh, and I notice, the friends that I have, it's like I've always been, I guess, really lucky to have like some cool friends. And there was a picture that popped up in my timeline from Facebook, and it was a picture from high school. I'll be 40 next month, and it was several of my friends in the back of my buddy's truck, and we're a couple of us have squirt guns. It's summertime, and this was 1996, 97. I don't know. We all look pretty cool though. And these are the days before everybody was taking pictures of everything all day. So I'm glad to have that picture of us. And I think about what I have now with my friends, and like the part where what Nietzsche is talking about, fellow creators, their creator seeketh. Not herdsmen, and we're not that everybody I hang out with has to be some kind of elite trainer or something, but so many people I know that they own their own business. Maybe it's a big business, maybe it's a small business. Whatever it is, they're doing their own thing, and a lot of they're open-minded, and they can see other people doing their own thing and appreciate it and be happy for these people. And when we go hang out in the woods, a bunch of us, we all have these different strengths, like literal strengths. So maybe I can press more weight. I can press the bigger rock over my head, but I can't climb a tree like as good as Joey, or I can't balance on the thing as good as Ethan, or I'm not doing the parkour techniques like Eve is doing, or it's like all these people doing these things, and we're all different and strong in different ways, and we're all just cheering each other on. I got a fortune cookie, which you can always trust. Can't find it. Well, it says, sorry, it's okay. I'm a professional. I don't need to hit pause or anything. Should be able to remember this, but it says, you are always welcome in a gathering. I'm not going to tell you my lucky numbers, though. I'm going to win the lottery with those. You are always welcome in a gathering. And that was an interesting one for me because, sometimes when I'd be invited to stuff, I'd wonder if people really wanted me there or not. And I had no reason to think that they really didn't. But for some reason, these are the kind of things that would pop into my mind sometimes. And I guess there's probably some stuff I missed out on because I maybe I kind of wondered that, or I'll just, stay home, or there's a couple things I can think of. I won't bother going into them now. It hasn't been like a huge thing for me, but it's something that I've thought about. And something really cool that I get invited to once a month is these sweat lodges in the Lakota tradition. And I went Saturday. Today's Monday, so I went a couple days ago. And normally when you go into a sweat lodge, a lot of us we're praying for someone else. And so the ones that I've done before, I haven't done a lot of them, but maybe this might have been somewhere close to like, I've done like 8 of them, maybe I don't know, somewhere around in there. And yeah, 6, 8, I don't know, whatever it is. But I'm going to start going more regularly now. But anyways, we'll have a prayer in mind, because this is kind of like, you go to a sweat lodge. It's not this comfortable, nice, relaxing experience. It can be like super intense and very, very uncomfortable. Can just really suck. I went to one in the summer, and it was the first time I had to lay down because the ground looked like a little layer of cool air at the bottom. And it was the first time I had to lay down, and I was laying on my back, and my knee was up, and even my knee was real. I just felt like it was boiling. It's pretty rough. I mean, I didn't get out. I got through the whole thing, but I was like, trying to like take somebody else's karma. There was a couple people that I was like, I want to see if I can take some of their karma and, suffer for them, pray for them for this thing. But this one that I was planning on for Saturday, I knew that I was going to be going, and I thought this one's going to be for me. I've had some interesting, changes in my business ideas, like more of like, not like big changes, but advancements of, like I quit teaching classes at this one place I was teaching, and I've been thinking about getting my own place for some time now. And I had a couple people ask me about going into business together, like splitting a place. And there was like 3 of us talking about it. And then one of my buddies said that he's probably just going to focus more on like his building up his home gym more, his clients there. And it's, fine. I understand. And then another guy said that he was interested still. I don't know him as well. He used to come to my workshops. He's been to a few of my workshops. But then I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And then so this sweat lodge I was going into, this prayer is for me. I want, this one's mine. I want the wisdom to pick the right people to go into business with. Because yes, I can afford a place on my own. I can afford a better place if I have someone else kicking in half. And then we can have 2 people that have a good place. And then we can, spread that out and perhaps allow other instructors to use the place and make money that way too. So I knew that was coming up. And I wish I could give more details than what I can now, but I have to keep it a secret. But I can say I was planning on this guest to come on my podcast. And I was really excited to have him on. You could say he's pretty famous in, I won't even say what part of the fitness world. I got to be careful not to say too much. But he was going to be coming on the show. And so we're talking. He sends me a message Friday, asks if we can talk Saturday morning. Okay, so that's the day of the sweat lodge, where my idea is to, receive the wisdom, open up to the wisdom of who to be in business with. And he made the suggestion of going into a business together. And completely out of the blue for me, I was not expecting this at all. And I wish I could say more. But I have to keep it quiet for a while. But I can say I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But as of now, we're moving forward. And if this works out, it's going to be a very exciting thing happening. And I want to say so much more, but I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to end up saying saying too much. So timing, I was reading through my outline here, making sure I'm remembering everything and not saying what I shouldn't say. But for our timing, in a lot of ways, we make our own timing, and we have to put our time in to, I guess, you might say, like, pay your dues. You have to, some people say, like, it takes about 10 years to become an overnight success. It's like people will think like these singers that, they just come out of nowhere. No, they didn't. They've been working really hard at it for a long time. You just heard of this girl yesterday, and she knocked your socks off with her singing capabilities, or or how she was playing guitar or something. Just overnight success. No, she's been working really hard for a long time. You didn't see that part. You didn't hear the part where she was not a good singer. She comes out of nowhere, quote unquote, and, can move people with her voice. But you put your time in, and then these things happen. And, I would say, like, don't be afraid to, like, what popped in my mind was, like, project yourself where you want to be. So it doesn't mean, like, exaggerate your position. But I think a lot of people, they're almost like afraid of success. And maybe there's been some part of that for me also, but, like when I was talking to this, potential partner of mine, this person it looks like I'm partnering up with, and I'm talking about, what it is that I want. And, part of, like, with the podcast, I want it to be the best in the world for fitness and consciousness related subjects, which is almost everything. But, it's not to say that, like, I'm the best at something, but, I'm the best at being myself. And that's kind of part of the idea, is I'm using this to get more of myself out of myself. And when I have guests on, most of the guests just want to go with the flow. They don't ask me for questions. Some of them will ask me, like, someone might ask me, like, oh, what do I want to talk about or something? And I'll be like, well, I scrolled through your Instagram, but, sometimes the show ends up being about something that we don't plan on. It's not, you didn't mention this on Instagram. But the vast majority of guests that I have, and I think that's why so many people like the show, and why I like the show, is because it's all free. So when I have a guest, I do my research, and I'll write out stuff, but there's no script. There's no editing. Rarely will I hit pause. There might be a couple times, and almost. Well, anyways. So, and I'm seeking people that are, know more about different things than I do. I'm not trying to know everything about everything. And it was just, I guess you could say, a coincidence, if there are such thing. My last two guests were psychotherapists, and they were a little different in how they did things, of course. Like, okay, but it's very interesting, because I'm always interested in how people, that are, like, trained to read people would read me. And one of them, I asked. The other one, we didn't get too into, like, me personally, but Eliza Tuachi, she was able to see me pretty well, and I thought that was very interesting. So like who we associate with is, they'll say like we're the average of the 5 people we hang around the most. And I've noticed that. I mean, there were times like, like maybe, like when I was younger and my daughter was born when I was just before I turned 19, a couple months before I turned 19. And so that changed my mind. That had to change my thinking. I went from being, 18-year-old, likes to party and stuff, to like, okay, that's got to end. And now I'm trying to, do the right thing and hold myself to this high standard. And where a lot of my friends, they didn't have that kind of responsibility. So maybe they were like, they didn't have to have that 90-degree turn. Like, oh, we got to go this way now. And I had to quit hanging out with a lot of those people. And, and then they end up making their turns whenever they did. And just the way I see like these opportunities that are happening, and then this opportunity that I was mentioning that I can't be talking about. Hopefully I don't just spill it all out here. But I think it's a direct result of what I've been doing really since I was a little kid. I started as a trainer in 1999. I got my first yoga books when I was 15 in 1994. Before that, my friends and I were doing meditations, and I'd been working out since I was probably lifting weights since I was 6 or 7. I still have my dad's weights that I was lifting in those days. And, before that, boxing, wrestling with my dad, and all that has led up to I turned 40 years old next month, which is kind of a big one. I'd like to say it doesn't mess with me, but it does a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, where am I and what am I doing? And I have this amazing opportunity to work with somebody who I highly respect. I have a bunch of cool friends. I'm healthy. And, there's some things that I still want to improve on. There's some things that I'm not content with. But I don't know if I ever will be, like martial art, it's, like my buddy Blake divides them into perfection martial art and protection. So, in like those perfection martial arts, you never reach perfection. You're not going to reach perfection, but you're still going to try. Every day you walk that path. Every day trying for perfection. That is the goal. And you're not going to hit it. You can't do it. But you're still going every day. And speaking of like who to associate with, earlier tonight, a friend of mine came over. She's been like my main jiu-jitsu training partner and we do punching, kicking, everything, for well over a year now. I've trained with, a good number of people since then and went and taken classes, but my jiu-jitsu teacher, he started teaching jiu-jitsu in Indianapolis in 1967. But he talks about having a retirement plan for your martial art. And so it's kind of making sense to me, where I'm sick of all the little injuries. I had a bit of a knee injury. It took like a year for it to really heal, and maybe it's still not perfect. And these things happen. People get knee injuries when they're not doing martial arts too. So, but having like this partner of mine, training partner, can still do the practice, but it's not like just this death match the whole time. It's trying to get better. But so I think like we can train martial arts in a way that's very good for the body. So like jiu-jitsu, where we're doing joint locks and doing all these techniques like that. We'll stick with joint locks for now, but they can condition the joints. They can be good for the joints if you're doing them right, if you have the right sensitivity. You can also break the joints. That's what they are. They're dislocations. So you can dislocate the joint if you're not being sensitive, or you can just condition the joints. You're like just gently stretching, moving each other through these different positions, ranges of motion. So as I think, well, what do I want going forward? I'm not interested in competition. I've done a lot of hard sparring. I don't think I've had too much head trauma. Some people may disagree, or at least whatever. So now I think, well, what do I want to do? I still want to practice, but I don't know. Anyways, as I was looking through these things to read, as I normally do, sometimes I just kind of like pick some random stuff, and sometimes it kind of works out. Maybe this is random. This is from Kabir, Ecstatic Poems, versions by Robert Bly. Breathe in that word out of which the whole Milky Way has come. That word is your teacher. I heard that sound, and I am its disciple. How many are there alive who have taken in its meaning? Listen, student, hold on to that word. Do it. All the old texts and holy poems shout about it. The world has its deep roots in that word. The rishis and the devotees babble about it, but no one grasps how mysterious the word is. The father gets up from supper and walks out when he hears it. The ascetic returns to love when he hears it. The six great systems keep laying it all out. The animal of renunciation drives toward that word. The world, with all its elephants and microbes, has jumped out of that word. Inside the word, everything is full of light. Kabir says, true, but who knows where the word came from in the first place? Speaking of words, there's a dog barking. Wonder if those are words. Why should we two ever want to part? Just as the leaf of the water rhubarb lives floating on the water, we live as the great one and little one. As the owl opens his eyes all night to the moon, we live as the great one and little one. This love between us goes back to the first humans. It cannot be annihilated. Here is Kabir's idea. As the river gives itself into the ocean, what is inside me moves inside you. Maybe those are random. Maybe they're not. Hopefully it resonates with you. This is from the prophet Kahlil Gibran. And a youth said, "Speak to us of friendship." And he answered, saying, "Your friend is your needs answered. He is your field, which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. And he is your board and your fireside, for you come to him with your hunger, and you seek him for peace. When your friend speaks his mind, you fear not the nay in your own mind, nor do you withhold the a. And when he is silent, your heart ceases not to listen to his heart. For without words in friendship, all thoughts, all desires, all expectations are born and shared with joy that is unacclaimed. When you part from your friend, you grieve not, for that which you love most in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. For love that seeks aught but the disclosure of its own mystery is not love, but a net cast forth, and only the unprofitable is caught. And let your best be for your friend. If he must know the ebb of your tide, let him know its flood also. For what is your friend that you should seek him with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. For it is his to fill your need, but not your emptiness. And in the sweetness of friendship, let there be laughter and sharing of pleasures. For in the dew of little things, the heart finds its morning and is refreshed. A couple days ago, a few days ago, I don't remember the exact day right now, but my ex-girlfriend's cat died. Her and I were together about 2 years, and we lived together most of that time. And so I lived with this cat. It was the only cat that I ever lived with. And he lived to be 17. And we moved, when I first met her, she lived in an apartment. And I sold my house and moved into her apartment before we moved into this other house. And I got the cat a leash and would walk him around in the yard. And, it took him a while to kind of get used to it because he wasn't used to being outside. So, I put him on the leash. We'd go outside, and he would just stand there right at the edge of the yard, right outside. And you imagine the sensory overload of used to being inside. There's no predators. Sometimes her brother's dogs would come over or something. But there's no owls to worry about or hawks. There's no, and the smells, the ground. Imagine what the ground smells like to a cat or a dog. What the air smells like and all the sounds. So I would just take my time with him. And, when I thought it would be okay, I would just pick him up, carry him out a little bit farther into the yard, set him down. And then sometimes he'd get to walking pretty slow, and just everything was real deliberate. All those little steps. There was no like trying to run. And just, but more and more he'd get used to it, and we'd walk around. I think that's how a lot of us are when we're trying new things. Like, we have this world, it's our right to go out into this world and claim what is ours. Create what is ours. That doesn't mean be bad to the earth, or like we should be able to like just mow down the rainforest and put a mall there or something. I don't mean like that, but I mean not be afraid to go out. And yeah, we have to be careful, just like the cat. It's like, okay, whoa, this is all new. There's a lot going on. I need to make sure I don't make a mistake. I need to make sure I'm aware, because there is an owl over there. I have to watch out for that. If the owl starts making a move, I have to be faster. I need a head start. I need to be aware of that. So I think, it's partly what I'm trying to do more and more, put myself out there, and like getting invited to these sweat lodges like I was talking about. These are people that I know them, but not real close. Well, how do you get closer? They're people that I like a lot. They're all really cool people, and I do want to get to know them better. So how do you do that? Well, when they invite you to stuff, you go. And I should invite them to something, And anyways, it's back to the cat. He when I saw on, I think it was Instagram, flipping through Instagram, and I saw my ex, and she was holding, or she was showing this older picture of, she was 20 years old when she first got the cat. Just this little baby cat, a few weeks old. And I knew without reading anything what it was going to say. And so I wrote her this. I thought about it for a little bit, and it's sad, but, well, no buts. It's sad, and that's kind of what makes it so good. Also, it's different than a rock. I like rocks. I have rocks. I collect rocks, but it's different than a rock. I think rocks can have spirits, and but it's different. This part of what makes it so precious is the word that popped into my mind, is because it's not forever. You get a limited amount of time, and you don't know. You get a little baby kitten, maybe it lives to be 6 weeks old, and something happens. Maybe 6 months old, 5 years, 10 years, 17 years. You have no idea. You can't guess. And that's what that fragility, that vulnerability is what makes it so meaningful, or part of what makes it so meaningful. And I wrote, well, I say that I more like channeled this rap that I wrote, or that the cat wrote through me. And I can probably say that it's the best rap ever. Maybe even the best song ever. I can say that because all I did was write it down. I'm not bragging about it. It was him who wrote it through me. And I wrote one of them that's just like pretty epic. And then another one. And then her brother and his wife had dogs and a cat. And I wrote a song from it's from all of their perspectives. See, I wrote or channeled, whatever, the song from the cat's perspective. And I wrote another one, and then I wrote and they just pop into my mind. It just happens. These like phrases pop up, and then another one and another one. And pretty soon there's like this whole thing is written out. And one of the goals that I have is, I did a little bit on the podcast a few podcasts ago. I'm not sure. It was an audio only version because what I do that gets my videos, if I play guitar and sing at the same time, it doesn't sound right. It's not made for that. But it was called Heartbeat. The episode was called Heartbeat, and I played guitar and sang and told stories on that one. And so like when I did this rap for her before, I was doing it on guitar, and it wasn't quite right. I was almost like kind of like hiding behind the guitar and the words. But like what I wish I would have done is just let loose and let this rap out. But I was like, I don't know. I had no reason to be embarrassed, but I guess maybe that was kind of what it was, or a little shy about it, to like just let that out. And so I'm actually, well, I guess I'll say it. I'm going to do it. And I'm gonna send it to her, because when I sent her the message, I told her I could write it out again for her, the rap, and she said she kept the copy that I had given to her back then, but she would like it in another format. So I'm going to type it out. It'll have more correct spellings and stuff. Perhaps I'll do it on the air, but maybe I'll keep it as a private thing. But maybe I'll just like let it loose one time on the air. But I want to be able to do like more about it, just like let my like be more free. So like one thing I was thinking, like, oh, maybe I'll quit doing martial arts and then learn to dance. And then my buddy happened to be doing like a capoeira workshop. I've done a couple of those with him, and so it's like martial art, but it's a dance, and you're just loose and it's fun, and it's like martial arts. It's not like you go to a jiu-jitsu class and people are trying to kill you the whole time. But I want to be able to just like, let it out, sing more. And, so it's been my New Year's resolution. I started it a bit with that show I did called Heartbeat, and also just doing this show in general and talking about the things that I talk about. When I bet if you would have, a lot of my family and friends, they think I'm somebody that doesn't really say much to anyone. Very private. And then I come out and I'm speaking to however many people listen to this show. It's many, 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 many thousands. And it's just building. It's just building, building, building. So it's somewhat of a interesting thing for me to just be able to say what I say on the air and just put it out there. But perhaps I'll do the rap. But I'll at least do it for her. I'm just going to let it out, and I'll see how it goes. Again from the prophet. When a plowman said, "Speak to us of work." Then a plowman said, "Speak to us of work." And he answered, saying, "You work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite." Sorry, I got hiccups. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of earth's fullest dream assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secret. But if you in your pain call birth an affliction and the support of the flesh a curse written upon your brow, then I answer that naught but the sweat of your brow shall wash away that which is written. You have been told also that life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge, and all urge is blind, save when there is knowledge, and all knowledge is vain, save when there is work, and all work is empty, save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself and to one another and to God. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with a breath of your own spirit, and to know that all the blessed dead are standing about you and watching. Often I have heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, "He who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than he who plows the soil. And he who seizes the rainbow to lay it on a cloth in the likeness of man is more than he who makes the sandals for our feet." But I say, not in sleep, but the over wakefulness of noontide, that the wind speaks not more sweetly to the giant oaks than to the least of all blades of grass. And he alone is great who turns the voice of the wind into a song made sweeter by his own loving. Work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. For if you bake bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of grapes, your grudge distills a poison in the wine. And if you sing, though as angels, and love not the singing, you muffle man's ears to the voices of the day and the voices of the night. Work. So I have what I call my job. I work at a factory from usually supposed to be from 5 in the morning until 1 p.m. And then I go to the gym for clients. And then, a lot of times, including tomorrow and last few weeks, go in at 3 a.m. to the job. So work from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then this is at a factory. It's not a bad job. It's the pay is decent, and good benefits, and pretty cool people to work with, and it's a pretty good environment. So there's no real complaints about that, except I don't really like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Or, well, should I say? Okay, I shouldn't say that I don't like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because, well, why am I doing that? Well, I'm needed there. Do I like being needed? Yes. So what do they do? Because they need me, they pay me. Overtime, you get time and a half, you get more money. So do I like getting more money? Yes. Well, then I like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But the part of me that's not so spiritual doesn't like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't really like waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get there at 5 either. But I'll do what I need to do. Because right now I make money from training, but it's not steady enough to pay for everything that I want to pay for. I have financial goals, including starting this business, which is, I'm already in the business, but starting, like, having my own place, having my own gym. And so part of it was to finance this other thing that I have going until it can finance itself. And it's, the next step of that is happening soon. I have to put in that work, and a lot of what we see, there are, of course, people making, great amounts of money and successful and happy. Well, a lot of what we see, like on Instagram, it's fake. Or people will look like they have a lot of money because they have the fancy car and the fancy house, but what they really have is a lot of debt. They don't have any money. It might look like they do, but they're way in debt. And they're like flaunting their debt. It's bizarre. Whatever people want to do. Through these, I've read that, like, one of the ways to think about karma is like this black substance that we accumulate for doing the wrong stuff or whatever we may have inherited, or whatever, if that's true or not, I don't know. But like a black substance. And then virtue is this white substance that accumulates in our body. So we're doing the right, we're doing the virtue, we're more and more white, more and more light. We're doing bad, we're collecting karma. And it's this, like, heavy black substance. And so I think, and I've seen this play out, hitting 40, all these years of experience that I have doing what I do. I've worked full time as a trainer before. I could do that again. I could go get a job as a trainer, as an employee, and be working, part of it might be like sales and stuff, but I've been offered positions as an employee where this gym, they're really busy, and guys like showing me the blocks of time that need trainers. It's like, you just pick what you want. Here's this 4-hour block. Here's this 4-hour block. Here's this. And I was offered it, but it was as an employee, and that gym didn't really pay very well. As an it's like what I'm going to charge per hour as a trainer. I'll work at the factory for a lot less. But if somebody wants me as a trainer, you got to pay for it. And there's ways to work with me less expensively, like when I was teaching classes. But which reminds me, I don't say it enough on the air, but if people are interested in training with me online, I do offer online training using video. So it's in real time. I'm correcting your technique. I'm demonstrating, and it can be recorded as an MP4. And I can send you the MP4. That way you can watch it, and then you can see yourself and seeing what's being corrected. And then it's a really good and efficient way of doing training to have the recordings. It's and so easiest email to remember since it's on the show is fitnessandconsciousness@gmail.com. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, use the same email. If you want to come work with me in person, and what a lot of people have done is like I have clients that have been with me for about 4 years, and I've also have people they work out on their own. They use kettlebells. They want to make sure they're using the right technique. They don't want to use me as a trainer for a long time. They just want to get a couple things dialed in. They'll come with me. They'll get 5 sessions, 10 sessions, maybe just a couple sessions. And that's okay. There's no long-term commitment for this kind of stuff. It's people want to work with me for a lot of different reasons. So you can send me an email, and most cases I should be able to help you out. There's some things like if you want to learn Olympic weightlifting, I'm not the best guy to do that. Kettlebell lifting, general strength and conditioning, from like martial arts or whatever, send me an email. fitnessandconsciousness@gmail.com. I forget what I was talking about before I started my big commercial there. Where was I? I don't remember. But I appreciate everyone listening to the show. I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. I forgot what I was going to say there. I appreciate everyone listening. The show is just growing and growing all the time. I have some great guests coming up. Next one planned is for next weekend, but sometimes things pop up in between. And some really exciting things are coming. If this works out with this new partner of mine, we're going to blow some minds. And I wish I could say more. It'll be unveiled later. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Most people are listening on audio source of some sort. The show is also on YouTube. It's the Fitness and Consciousness YouTube channel. Most people listen on iTunes or whatever, but you can see the video. Some of my guests are worth looking at. You can also watch me say things. You can see me like scratch my nose. You can see me like grow my eyebrow. Sometimes that's exciting. Anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.